Apparently that was always a very stressful time. It would take like all day to shoot a... Hi, and welcome to Studio Access. I'm Larry Walters, and I'll be your host tonight. Studio Access, stop. I'll redo it. Hi, and welcome to Studio Access. I'm Larry Walters, and I'll be your host today. Studio Access is a wonderful show because it is crewed and directed entirely by those on the spectrum. I think you're going to enjoy it. Today we welcome as our special guest Sheri Taber. Sheri is an advisor at A.S.R.C, which stands for Autism Services and Resources Connecticut, and also has a family member on the spectrum. So with that, Sheri, let me welcome you to the show.
Welcome. Thank you, Larry.
Great to have you with us today. So to begin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a native of Connecticut. I grew up in Plainville. I did have a family member. My brother had he was mentally challenged. So at a very young age, I was exposed to all different types of special needs, Down syndrome, autism, and our family was always very much involved in his life. Like you said, I do have a son on the spectrum. Because I was exposed so early, I did recognize that my son had some characteristics of autism. It did take several years to get the official diagnosis. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 18. He did go through special ed since he was 4, so he got some services he needed, but maybe not the exact services he needed.
Yeah. Was it challenging during those early years?
Yes, it was. I had to persevere and continually research and talk to the doctors and the teachers so I can get that diagnosis, so we could get the help he needed.
Now, early on, that was kind of a new diagnosis. Was it challenging to talk to medical professionals to try to get them to recognize this?
Yeah, because he always reached at the end of the milestones, like for walking and speaking. So they always just said he was a little bit delayed.
Right.
But like I said, because I was exposed to people with autism, I saw the classic signs. And he did go through a neurologist and, several testing, and so we finally did get the diagnosis.
You need quite a team of people, don't you?
Yeah.
But things have worked out well, because I understand he's even helping to crew the show tonight, isn't he?
Yes, he is, and I'm very proud of him.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Well, we also know that you work at A.S.R.C, and did I get that right? Autism Services and Resources Connecticut?
Yes.
Good. So tell us a little bit about that. What kind of an organization is it, and what does it do for those in the spectrum?
Well, the organization started in 1997. It's exclusively, the first and exclusively for people on the spectrum in Connecticut. We provide social groups, resources, training, for people on the spectrum and their family members.
So let's pull that apart a little bit. Let's take those one at a time just to understand. So information, what kind of information do they provide?
On autism, how
the diagnosis itself?
Yeah.
Right.
Where to go to get the diagnosis. Good therapists for your children that are on a spectrum or your adults.
Because it's important to have people that are knowledgeable.
Right, and you want to go, if your child needs therapy, you want to go as the child and the parent. So you can learn, as a parent, you can learn how to help your child.
Right. And it's more than one doctor, isn't it? Sometimes it takes a whole team of people that are medically focused in this one particular area. Yeah. It's not just general practitioners.
Because when you're on the spectrum, it's a wide range.
Right. So in addition to information, so they'll tell you about the condition. They'll talk about some of the things to look for. Do they also provide help in guiding you to the right people that can provide these services?
Yes. Yeah. Since A.S.R.C has been there for over 20 years, they do have a network of professionals that they will recommend.
Gotcha.
Therapists and people to go to for help.
I assume they also have a mission and value statement, something like that?
Yeah.
Do you happen to recall offhand what that says?
They believe that everyone deserves to live a life to better, the best they can.
Sure, wonderful. Good. And they provide the information and support services to help with that.
Yeah.
Now, you also mentioned that there's some support groups, I understand, that are part of this program. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Last year, they started information network groups. There's 3 different ones. One is in Yale, Yale, New Haven, at Yale. That age group is 3 to 11. The second one is at West Farms. She doesn't really have age specific. And the one I run along with Lois, we deal strictly with adults. It's for parents. For
parents?
Yeah, for their, so they can network, so they can get information. Parents, grandparents, friends, friends of the family, if they want to help out. We have speakers. A few of the speakers that we had over this past year, we've had a behavioralist, someone talking about driving, how to prepare your child to learn how to drive, starting young, a special needs trust person. We also encourage them to network as parents. You may find that you meet somebody and your children have the same interests.
All right.
So maybe you can set up a date where they can go bowling together, get them out in the community, help build their social skills. It also helps parents to know that you're not the only one, because it can be hard on the families.
Right.
So they need that support. They need to know that there's help out there, and A.S.R.C. is there to help families.
Now, you run this program at the headquarters in Wallingford?
My support group is at A.S.R.C. in Wallingford.
In the Wallingford office.
The second Thursday of each month.
Second Thursday of each. What time?
6:30 to 8.
6:30 to 8.
It starts up again in the fall.
Oh, it's breaking for the summer.
Yeah, we take a break for the summer because people go on vacation and stuff. So.
Right. Good. Typically, how many families or parents do you have at the support group?
I would say anywhere between 10 to 15.
And do you have a set program each time, or do people just start talking and you take the topic from the
Well,
evening?
we invite guests.
All the time.
For next year, we're looking into possibly having somebody to speak about benefits, Social Security benefits, and how to get the benefits. We're looking to have somebody speak about that. We're looking at someone to come in and talk to the parents about the support that they need as a family member, because it is a stress on the family. So those are a couple of topics that we're looking into. So we might have 2 speakers, and we might just have a support meeting where we might sit down with the parents and ask what they're looking for during the information networking groups. Give them a chance to network.
What have you found have been some of the more popular topics that parents have really been interested in?
They really like the one about driving. Because as my group is for adults, the kids want to be able to drive. So she was giving hints on what to do. For instance, like if you're driving, talk about the rules of driving.
So have that dialogue.
Yeah,
with
have the dialogue.
Right.
There's apps that you can put on the phone, because you have to get your driver's permit first.
Oh, I see.
And if you want them to get tested, you can go to A.S.R.C.
I heard that. They have a program there, right?
Yeah, to see if they're capable of driving, but you have to have your permit first.
I see. So you go down to motor vehicle, get your permit, then you can go to A.S.R.C. for an evaluation?
Right.
Is that how it works?
Yep. Make an appointment, yeah. And the lady that we had was formerly worked at A.S.R.C. She was a speaker.
Ah.
I think the other important one was a special needs trust.
Conducted by a lawyer,
Yeah.
I would assume?
Yeah.
Special needs lawyer.
Right, right. And what you need to do to get the special needs trust. And why should you have a special needs trust? Especially if your son or daughter is on Social Security, there's a limit of how much money that you can have, and
Right.
you want to protect your assets for that child. So when you're gone, they'll have access to some money so they can continue to live on their own,
Sure.
or with family members if that's the case.
Right, for the extra benefits of life, not the
Right.
food, housing, and
Yeah. They also have an ABLE account that you can set up. That money's protected. If you get state services, they can't touch that money. You're allowed to put up to $15,000 a year, and it changes every year. That gives the child, adult, the opportunity to feel independent. If you have X amount of money in there and they need to take some out for rent, maybe a vacation, maybe they need some, new clothes or car trouble.
And the nice thing is it doesn't have the income limits or
Right.
the asset limits that the other programs
Right.
often
Yeah.
have.
If you're on SSI, you have limitations on how much money you can have in your checking and savings account,
Right.
and it's hard to save for down payment on an apartment. You have to have first and last rent.
Right.
How are you going to come up with that? But now, it's not in Connecticut right now, but you can go. It's in Ohio and other states.
So even though you're a Connecticut resident, you can set up an account or a program using one of the other states' programs?
Yes. Yeah.
What state, to your knowledge, are most people using? Is it Ohio?
I think Ohio. But whatever works for you, just, Google it and do a little research to find out what's the best that fits for your family.
No, good to know. Good to know. Now, I looked at the website, Sheri, earlier today, and I noticed they also have other things like training programs and specialized programs at A.S.R.C. Maybe you could give us an insight on some of those?
They have, they call them boot camps. I
Boot
think they're
camps.
8 to 10 weeks. They're intense. Be training on, different things that you need to know as a parent, how to advocate for your child, learning about the IUPs, transition is a big one.
Right. I noticed that A.S.R.C. also, as they describe in the website, they do other things like peer mentoring. To your knowledge, how does that work?
You get a they train these people, and probably around the same age. And they take them out and to the community.
Have you and your family personally used a number of these services at A.S.R.C., and how have you found them?
We find them, very helpful.
Yeah.
Gives them the opportunity to socialize, to build friendships, to be flexible. 'Cause a lot of people on the spectrum are not flexible.
Yes, true.
Patience.
Getting along with people.
Yeah, right. Because in the workforce, you have to be patient. You have to be flexible. Your
Right.
schedule might change, or your job might change.
Right. Yeah. No, those are all good social skills, and I think it's great to have a group that really understands that doing part of the training. Now, also, you mentioned when we talked earlier about the state program. There's a state program I understand there's a long waiting list. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
That's the Connecticut Autism Waiver Program.
Okay. What's all that about?
That you can get depending on what your needs are, they have life coach mentors available, a social group with a trained clinician. You might need a job coach. What a mentor would do, they're more for getting you out into the community, working on your social skills. Could take you to the gym. Could encourage you to email a friend and set up a time to meet. Now, in a life coach, they're the ones that might help you set up a bank account, make a budget out, learn how to cook, look up apartments, and within your budget, try to figure out how to save for, an apartment, how to set up apartment. That's what a life coach typically does.
Mm-hmm. What about the frequency? It sounds like these are some great services. Are they probably not daily, but are they weekly, monthly? How does that get allocated?
Depends on the needs of the individual child.
Mm-hmm.
They set up depending on the need of the child is how much money that child will have in its budget.
Oh, I see. Uh-huh.
Which they would use for like the mentors, life coach, maybe the child needs a behavioralist.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe child A needs more community mentoring than child B.
Do you have a sense of how many students or people are on this program now, and how many are on the waiting list? Because I know it's a long waiting list.
Waiting list, I think maybe 1,200.
1,200. Wow.
I'm not sure how many are in the actual program. I know it's a long waiting list, but I do encourage people to sign up so the governor can see what a big need this is.
Right.
Because there's 500,000 people getting out of high school or aging out that are going to be adults that need this program desperately. Because a lot of times what happens is they just end up sitting home.
Mm. Any idea how much money is allocated toward the program? I was curious because it seems like such a large waiting list. It seems that there must be a severe lack of funds.
I don't know how much is allocated, but I knew per person they can have their budget is up to $50,000 per person.
Oh, that's significant.
That doesn't mean every individual gets that
Gets that
amount.
much, right.
Because if person A only needs $25,000, that's what he would receive for his services. He doesn't actually get the money. It's to pay for the services for your life coach, for your mentor, for your behavioralist.
Right. And then who makes the determination of how the funds are allocated toward between the behavioralist?
You have a
and
caseworker.
A caseworker. Okay.
Yeah.
And they make all those determinations based on your needs.
Yeah.
Is it like in school where they also do an IEP for
basically,
directions?
Yeah. They do a yearly review.
And these funds are renewed every year per student, or do you have to keep qualifying every year?
Well, you have to be on Medicaid because a Medicaid waiver.
I see. Mm-hmm.
And that's how they pay for the program. That's how the state of Connecticut pays for the program, through Medicaid. So every year you have to make sure you get your paperwork in.
I see. Or you can get bounced off the program?
Yeah. Or if the adult feels like they don't need it anymore, or if that adult is not using the services,
right.
might as well bring somebody else in that needs it.
How often, perhaps you may or may not know this, but how often do people actually leave the program, leaving space for additional people?
Personally, I've only known one person.
Wow.
That has left the program.
And they can be out their whole life.
Yeah.
So chances are, this 1,200 people on the waiting list, they may never get the services they need.
I think they will,
At some point?
But it's important that more people sign up.
Right.
Like I said, so the governor can see, say we have 1,200 now, all of a sudden there's 2,400.
Right.
There's
a growing need. Yeah.
Right.
And the need's out there.
Yeah, every year people are getting out of the school system and, like I said, staying at home, and the parent doesn't know what to do.
Right.
And that's where A.S.R.C could come in and help with some of these social groups they have.
Mm. Are one of the groups actually focused or helping parents to get on this program, the state program, guiding them with what paperwork is required or what other elements
we can help you. You can go on the website. It's through DSS, Department of Social Services.
Okay.
To fill out the paperwork. You have to have a diagnosis of autism before the age of 22. It doesn't mean if your child's 25 that he can't get on it, because obviously he was autistic prior to that. Mm-hmm. Like I was saying, we do have several social groups. We have a wide variety of social groups that could help people as they're waiting to get, some of these services. I just recently started one for 3 to 6 years old.
Oh. Is that up at Wallingford as well?
Yes, that's in Wallingford. It's you have to, the parent has to come with the child. It's a structured play group. The leader is trained. And it also gives the opportunity for the parent to network and have support with other parents. We also have a teen groups. They do things like maybe cooking classes,
Oh, great.
bowling,
Nice.
other things.
Movie night.
Movie night, yeah.
Who doesn't like movies?
Right. The adults may do a Sky Zone, escape room,
Oh.
Super Bowl parties.
Do they ever do any traveling? Like, are there any ski groups or cruise groups or other groups where they actually go places and as a group to explore new areas?
Well, like for instance, bowling, they would go out to the bowling alley.
Right, local.
But local,
Right.
yeah.
Gotcha.
As far as venturing out further, not to my knowledge.
Right. Now, I remember from our discussion earlier that A.S.R.C. also is active in fundraising. They have a couple of events each year that they sponsor. Could you talk a little bit about those?
The two big ones are Autism Walk
The walk.
and the...
That's in the spring, right?
Yeah, that's in the spring.
Then there's a conference or something, or a big fall.
Autism Resource
Right.
Conference.
And what happens at the conference?
There's about 100 vendors.
Mm-hmm.
They have anything from camps for people on the spectrum to go to. There might be therapists there might be mentors, life coaches, private schools. They also usually have some training available for parents to participate in. It's a huge event, and I would encourage people to go to get the resources and some information that they need.
So it's a lot of education.
Yep.
And there's a lot of hands-on. There's also a book fair, I guess, that they can buy resources.
Right. You can talk to, the people, the vendors, about
Right.
your child, and they may be able to direct you to, maybe a different camp that you want to go to, or a therapist. They have, they might have vendors for music therapy, different types of things.
And what about the speakers? I understand they also bring in speakers from all over the country to talk.
Yeah, I know Dr. Loomis was there last year.
He's very well known. Yeah.
Kearns and Kearns
Oh yes,
for
the
Special Needs
lawyers.
Trust.
Yeah. Excellent.
They were there.
Good. And this is something that's well attended, I would imagine.
Yes, we get hundreds and hundreds of people.
Good. And that's in the fall.
Yes,
They always
that's
have
in
it
the fall.
Now the walk you said is in the
In the spring.
Spring. What's that about? How's that work?
That's a fundraiser, like I said. A lot of times families will, get families and groups together, and they might wear the same T-shirt. They might have their dog. They have face painting and different events. They have a raffle. This also brings awareness to out in the community, because we're in the community with our walk.
Is the walk basically just people gathering together and then walking, or do they do certain people ask for pledges like you've other fundraisers?
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah, and they walk.
You get,
They donate.
They'll sponsor it.
Right. Yeah.
So many dollars a mile or something like that.
Right.
By the way, how long is the walk? How many miles is it typically? Is it a long walk or is it?
I don't think it's that long.
Right.
I don't really know the exact amount, the mileage.
Yeah, but it's an all-day affair.
Yeah, it's all day. Yep.
And do you have to sign up for that in advance, or do you just show up?
Well, if you do a group, I think it's best to sign up. Yeah.
Good. And that's well attended, I would imagine,
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, we get hundreds of people out,
Good.
and it's a fun activity for the family.
What else is going on at the A.S.R.C? Perhaps some current events that we haven't talked about yet, some other things that they may be involved in, maybe there's a future direction that they're looking to get, carve out a new area. Any thoughts on that?
Well, we are going to, they have a new website that's coming out, hopefully late summer.
This summer?
Yeah,
Right.
and that'll be easier to, to navigate when you're looking for resources and things. They also do a phone support where people will call in looking for information, and they would email somebody like me, and I would research and get back to you. It
Great.
could be anything from they need a summer camp, They're looking for social groups for their child. They're looking for an advocate. They may know, they might want to know a therapist that they want to take their child to. Different things like that.
Does A.S.R.C also have lists of these support group, these support elements, like people in camps and things that people can reference on the website, or is
I believe, I believe
is,
they're on. Some of them are on the website.
Or maybe the new website will have more of this. By the way, while we're talking about the website, maybe you could give the URL, the address. Is it ASRC.org?
It's ct-asrc.org.
ct-asrc.org.
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't need the www in front of that anymore, I guess.
No, I don't think so.
And also the phone number, perhaps you could share that with the
it's
audience.
203-265-7717.
Say that again.
203-265-7717.
Great. Okay, excellent. Well, Sheri, any other concluding thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Well, one, I would again like to encourage everybody to sign up for the Autism Waiver Program.
Autism Waiver Program.
It's very important. And I would like to read this poem.
Yes, please.
It's called The Joy of Autism. I've gone to bed crying, but I've gone to bed laughing. I've been frustrated many times, but I've been blessed and amazed. I've been angry over little things, but delighted 1,000 times more. I felt defeated some days, but I've learned so much in return. I've never known a love so strong. I've been given the greatest gift of all.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Well, Sheri, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate that. It's been a great program, and really, that has been a wonderful time. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
And so from all of us at Studio Access, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate that. Please join us again next time. So from all of us here at Studio Access, thanks for watching, and goodbye.